think it's kind of interesting. If you look at names, let's say Pug Shipton. Pug is a type of goblin, but it's related to a ship. And again, if you look at the etymologies of a fairy, you've got fairy which is related to fire, and you've also got a ferry which is a type of boat. So the fairies themselves are connected to boats, to vessels. And for me, in my research, because I deal with symbolism, occult symbolism, I'm quite interested in what I refer to as polymorphic symbolism and polyglottal puns. So for example, in the Hebrew, you've got a seraphim, which is an angel, which is related to Serapha, fire, and is related to Safina, which is a ship. And that wordplay would translate into the English as fairy, fire, and ferry, which is a type of boat. So for me, as what you were saying, that this phenomenon does actually go back many hundreds of years. But I also think what's quite interesting, and it's not really, it's not accepted within ufology, but the idea of a spaceship is a very, very ancient idea, and it's an ancient idea which goes back thousands of years. It's not just the modern construct of, oh well, flying saucers just came into modern parlance in the 1950s after Roswell, let's say. But the symbolism goes back much further.
I'd agree. I'd certainly agree. I mean, some of the ancient cultures talked about life on other planets and speculate about it as well.
Yeah.
And we mentioned in our first book, Without Consent, something along those lines as well.
When was that written, Without Consent?
1994.
1994.
And again, we had this idea that we'd set up a UFO hotline.
Right.
It sounded great.
Yeah.
But it was just an answer machine.
Okay.
But this is before then, and again, no internet in those days. We set it up in the late 80s, and we spread the telephone number far and wide. It used to amaze me where it ended up sometimes.
Right.
But the first call on it was a local lady who had had a series of abduction accounts.
Right.
So I was fortunate that I could go and interview her on several occasions.
Yeah.
And then I'd worked with a journalist called Carl Negatis for a couple of years, and he'd left his job and he was working for himself, and he was doing some work for a television company who wanted a documentary on abductions.
Right.
So we did all the research on it, and then they changed their mind. So I said, well, why don't we turn it into a book?
Okay.
It wasn't planned, that's just the way it happened.
And just out of interest, I mean, what's your take? Why do you think that the aliens, and we'll call them aliens, and I'm comfortable with that word because I know that in the ancient Aramaic the word zari, which is an alien or a visitor, also refers to an angel. So they were referring to angels as visitors or aliens. So I'll use that word. But why do you think that these beings are abducting people? Do you have any interpretation of this?
Well, I'm not, I was of the opinion, certainly in the early days, that what we were dealing with beings from another world.
Okay.
How they got here, no idea.
Yeah.
Where they came from, no idea.
Right.
But as I've got more involved down the
Yeah.
years, I don't necessarily think that quite fits.
Right.
When you look at the conventional extraterrestrial hypothesis,
Yeah.
they come from A to B
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
Either down a wormhole or literally, in a straight line, linear travel.
Yeah. Are they time travellers, would you say?
Well, again, how they come.
It's just conjecture, really. Yeah.
But when you look at the UFO phenomenon, certainly in modern times, you can see how it's evolved across the decade. You start with the very simple things with Kenneth Arnold.
Yeah.
And then in the 50s you had the Space Brothers.
Yeah.
Where have they gone?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good point.
But
I think with the Kenneth Arnold case, and this is again with occult symbolism, is that this information was released on the 24th of June, which is the date of the establishment of the Lodge of Freemasonry within the UK, and also it corresponds with the Rosicrucians as well. It's a very significant date for the Rosicrucians.
And also, Kenneth Arnold didn't see a flying saucer.
Yeah, he saw some type of crescent, didn't he?
Light forms,
crescent shape.
light forms as well.
Yeah,
What
they were illuminated. And even Kenneth, never really came to a conclusion. But again, if you look down the decades, we've gone from the very simple things with Kenneth Arnold, Space Brothers in the 50s, Betty and Barney Hill, and then it's evolved.
But the flying saucer, it comes from classical Greece, and my interpretation of this is that the mystery schools, and we'll call it Freemasonry, etc., but we're talking about secret societies, and these secret societies, in my opinion, and I know that this is going to sound very exotic, but they do interface with these beings, and there are two interpretations on this. The aliens are here and they're interfacing with humanity, or the aliens are just up in the sky, basically. Now, in the occult tradition states that they are here, that they're interfacing with humanity. And so the flying saucer is how they represented this within ancient Greece. They represented them as saucers and they represented them as shields. And I therefore think that these secret societies were releasing the information of a flying saucer, which was very ancient and very old and esoteric, and they were releasing this through the public media. This is why when Kenneth Arnold was talking about this, the media picked this up as a flying saucer. As you rightly described, they were actually crescents. So they.
Well, he used the word saucer in a description, didn't he? It's a description of motion.
And it moved through the air, skipped on a pond, flying. So, but what happened, of course, after that, everybody was reporting flying saucers.
Of course. Even if it was a cigar shaped, it would be classed as a flying saucer.
It became the acronym for them, didn't it?
Yeah.
So that's the nickname for them. But no, I'm still not convinced that we're dealing with aliens from another planet in such. Right. Again, if you take the contactees, first of all, they came from the dark side of the moon. Of course, we sent a spaceship there. There's nothing there. Yeah. Then they came from Venus. Well, we found out that Venus is the kind of place you would not like to go on your holidays. Yeah. Then it came from Neptune, and as our science expanded, the aliens got further away. Yeah. You know, and that tells you something about the whole phenomenon. Yeah.
There's also the cases where people who were reporting abduction scenarios were actually witnessed to being still in the vehicle, the car with friends, when they, even though they're convinced they've had the abduction experience, they've been reported to actually never have left the vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, so we often wondered, for example, and you know, I don't want to, this is not meant in an offensive way, PC and Godfrey in the late 1970s, I believe he's honestly reporting what he experienced. Yeah. But we often speculated if you'd have walked past at the time, may you have just seen Alan sat in the car staring into space, and the experience was still going on, but it wasn't a physical reality.
Same could be said for Travis Walton in a sense, after they've kind of fled and it wasn't there. If he kind of, it's possible, really, was he still just? Did they just not find him when they went back? And
and we talked about you know, these luminosities, these light forms,
which are affecting consciousness.
Well, I was just coming to that. Some people think they are intelligent in their own rights, or like Paul Devereaux and others along those same lines believe that they are a very rare form of natural phenomena, not understood by science, that are electromagnetically charged, and of course if you get too close to them they can cause you to have all kinds of experiences. And then a colleague of mine called Albert Budden expanded that idea that there also are electromagnetical hotspots around the world, both natural and man-made. Right. And if you are allergic to it, then you have this otherworldly experience that to you is physically real. Yeah. You know, I talked to a lad who took drugs, and he said, Philip, you know, I sat one day and had a conversation with the devil. Right. It was as real to me as you are today. Yeah. You know, so
the power of the mind.
Yeah.
But in a sense, that these experiences and this in itself could, if you like, this construction in terms of these intelligent light orbs communicating, but that in a sense doesn't really preclude an extraterrestrial hypothesis either. I think both theories could coexist together, could in some way even be complementary as well.
I mean, nothing proves anything one way or the other.
Was there any animosity in terms of your groups? Did people fall out, or was it that you were always, even if you disagreed, that you were always trying to help one another?
You know, we all fell out.
Right.
You know, it was.
Right. I mean, when you're saying falling out, I'm talking about. I mean, did you really fall out, or was it just like kind of just like, okay, I disagree with this idea?
Do you mean disagreement on the actual?
No, I'm talking about, was there any degree of animosity where it got to a point where nobody was talking with one another?
Yeah.
Right. And was that because people coming from it from different angles?
No, it was because the people, different agendas.
Right.
And. So it did cause friction,
right?
And it's one of the reasons I left the Yorkshire UFO Society.
Okay.
And I made amends years later.
Right.
And it and that's why even today I will not join an organisation. I've been asked to.
Yeah.
But I flatly refuse.
You want to be independent.
Yeah, because if you join whatever group, you are a big fish in a little pond.
Yes.
You know, and sometimes egos get in the way or whatever, or you want to put your ideas through and he don't agree with you, and what's they've been doing. I've had enough of all that.
Yeah.
You know, I can sit here in my little office and do what I want, when I want, with whom I want, and that's it.
Yeah, keep it simple.
And that's what I do.
Yeah.
And one of the things, and again, I'm just fortunate that I've been looking over some old cases.
Yeah.
That are in my filing cabinet behind you.
Right.
And I've managed to track down one or two people from years back.
Right.
And say, how do you now, upon reflection, look at the incident now? Or has anything else happened to you since then?
Right.
And luckily the first chap I spoke to said, Philip, it never stopped. You know, and I've got his original letter there from 20 years ago.
Okay.
You know, has anything else happened? He says, I just stopped writing it all down. It's never stopped. Right. You know, which is fascinating.
That
so I've got to ring him back because I got an email from him and then I rung him. I wasn't prepared for him to say that, so I said, well, I'll need to ring you back at a different time. And
was this UFO sightings or was it kind of entity contact?
It was there was no entity, but it was certainly more than just a UFO sighting. And I won't go into the details, it's rather long, but you know, you could see by reading it had some kind of effect on the chap. There was something else going on.
Yeah.
I didn't expect him to still live at the same address.
Right.
But you know, I tried it, and I don't do a lot of that, but that's something I'm working on now.
Is that going to be for perhaps a new book?
No, that's just something I want to do. It's just my interest. You know, is how you view the phenomena that you've experienced it. 20, 30 years later, do you have a different opinion? You know, has anything else happened? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Just something I was interested in doing.
Do you find that when you do contact people, are they more willing to talk about it? Is there more openness about this?
I think there certainly is, and I think it happened in the 1990s, and it's debatable. But I think certainly the X-Files has good and bad points.
Right.
But also we had Nick Pope from the Ministry of Defence. Yeah. Whether you agree with him or not, he was the man from the ministry who gave the subject an air of credibility.
Yes, definitely.
Then you have people like Dr. John Mack. Again, it gave certainly the alien abduction research an air of credibility.
Yes,
and I think that helped. And there was also a period where the media through the 90s took it much more seriously as well.
Yeah.
Whereas it always used to be a silly season subject. Once the football season had finished and Parliament was done with, what we're going to write about now, you know, and it was looked upon. And it's one of the reasons why we used to have our conferences in the summer, because we could pretty much guarantee we'd get some publicity.
Right. Okay.
We didn't mind them poking fun at us a little bit, so long as we filled the theatre.
Yeah.
And but I also was the press officer for BUFORA.
Right.
And I struck up good links with a lot of journalists in those days.
Yeah.
And what I used to do was once a month do a press release and I'd send it to them. They may not react to it, but at least what was in it was sensible. Yeah. And they knew where we were if they wanted to find us.
Right.
You know, and I think that helped.
Yeah. Maintaining sort of links with
and if somebody wrote a stupid thing about us, well, I'd just cross him off the list.
So what's your interpretation in terms of where the media are at the moment? Are they fairly tolerant of this subject, or are there still a lot of derision?
I think they just, at the moment, they take the mickey out of it mostly.
Right, and
a lot of it's online.
Right, okay.
And it's
do you think there's an agenda? Is there disinformation, or is it just an easy subject just to sort of ridicule?
No, it's just an easy subject. I mean, again, down the years, I've done a few TV shows, and I'm still contacted by them, and they don't want to pay you.
Yeah.
I'm not in this subject for the money. I never have been, but and I said to one producer, "Well, you do this for a living, yeah? Well, do you get paid? Yeah, but you don't want to pay me anything. So we'll get some idiot somewhere else, stick him in front of a camera, and I'll tell him anything. Yeah. And it's the same. What they do now, of course, is scan the internet.
Yeah.
You know, there's one online just today. All these stunning photographs, and they're all lens flares.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Every single one of them is a lens flare.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about it. You just shrug your shoulders and get on with it.
Well, the internet is a double-edged sword, really, isn't it? Because there is interesting information up there, that's for sure, but then you've got a lot of very problematic information, which is putting out... it's kind of skewing and distorting the subject.
Well, I think I told you earlier, there was one chap I've been discussing things with recently, and I said, why don't you go and speak to these people firsthand, because we're having a bit of a friendly disagreement.
Yeah.
I said, don't have to, Philip, I can get it all online.
Yeah.
And you can't.
No, you can't.
It's as simple as that.
Mm.
And I just left him to it. You're thinking, well, if that's the way you operate, you can't do it. Don't get me wrong, it's got great uses, speed things up.
Yeah.
It's broken down a lot of barriers, but, you know.
So I'm just going to have a look now. We'll move on to the alien autopsy film, because you was actually very involved in that investigation. So could you just tell us how you actually...
Yeah. Excuse me, I'll take a drink.
Yeah, sure. I mean, was this through your connections then at BUFORA?
What it was, again, most things I've got involved in have come out quite by accident.
Right.
I was press officer, got a letter from a company called the Merlin Group in London,
Right, Merlin.
saying we're wanting to make a UFO documentary.
Right.
Can you send us some information? Well, I did, send them.
Yeah.
And then the chap wrote back, said, oh, that's very interesting, I'd like to have a chat with you. So I rang him up, a
Yeah.
gentleman called Ray Santilli.
Right.
And initially, he said they just wanted to make a UFO documentary.
Right.
Could I, or we assist?
Mm.
And I explained what we could and couldn't do.
Yeah.
He was looking to see if we'd got any film footage that he could license, which we didn't have.
Right.
But I knew somebody that did, so I put him in
Right.
touch with that. And then out of the blue, in a subsequent conversation, he says, well, Philip, I've actually got film of the aliens at Roswell.
Right.
I said, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, got them being autopsied.
Right.
So I said, well, show me.
Okay.
It's an obvious question, I thought.
Yeah.
And the conversation, this was in sort of mid-1993.
Okay.
The conversation went, yes I can, no I can't, yes I can, no I can't.
Right.
Anyway, we put on an event in London, one evening for Travis Walton and Mike Rogers.
Yeah.
We're promoting Fire in the Sky.
Yeah.
And this chap, Ray Santilli, I invited him along, because his offices weren't far from there.
Yeah.
And he told me this story about buying this film in Cleveland, Ohio from a former military cameraman.
Mm.
And I said, well, show me it.
Yeah.
Anyway, in the end, I spoke to him on the phone. I said, I don't believe you.
Yeah, he just gave up on the story, basically.
And he gave me his business card. So in early 1995, I got a VHS movie called Roswell that had just come out.
Right.
And it was sent for review. Only a small time thing.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, if that chap Santilli still claims to have this Roswell film.
I'll give him a call.
So I picked out his business card,
Yeah.
rung him up,
Yeah.
and he said, well, yes, Philip, but you don't believe me.
Right.
I said, well, I can't believe you until you show me it.
Yeah.
So he says, speak to my secretary now and make an appointment. So I did.
Yeah.
My wife and I went down, and hey presto, over the next few weeks, he showed us all the footage.
Right.
And at that point in time, he was just aiming to sell it on video. There was no media involved at all.
Right. Yeah.
The story got out by accident.
Yeah, just out of interest, when you saw the film, what was your immediate impression?
Well, I thought, well, you know, at least there's a film.
Yeah. So you didn't really know. You saw the film, you thought that's interesting, but I really don't know.
What I did, because I was also a conference organiser.
Yeah.
I said, will you show it at our conference in Sheffield in August?
Right.
Much to my surprise, he said yes.
Okay.
We shook hands. There was no money involved.
Yeah.
He asked me if I'd work on a little documentary he was making on his own about it, which I said yes.
Right. Okay.
But the two things were totally separate.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks later, I spoke to a journalist friend of mine, and I let slip about the alien autopsy. It went in a local newspaper, and then a press agency got hold of it, and they phoned me up. And then the next thing I knew, I was getting phone calls and faxes from around the world.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't know what had hit me.
Right.
And I just went with it, because one of the reasons I asked him to show it at the conference, I thought, well, whatever this film may or may not be, it needs to be out in the public domain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's probably only then will somebody come forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
And say, that's me, I'm one of the actors, or that's my granddad told me about that, and he said he was there.
Yeah.
When it got aired around the world in a wide variety of sources, I mean, it was on Fox TV as a special, you know, nobody came forward.
Right.
I mean, not a one
So
person.
in a sense, the mystery really deepened then, because then there was nothing really to contradict the story.
Yeah. And of course, I was accused by one idiot of being Ray Santilli's accomplice.
Right.
my wife and I were having an extension built on our house at the time. Oh, well, where did he get the money from?
Right, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
well, you know, Mantle don't have that kind of money. Well, no, I didn't. My wife did.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
she'd sell a property she owned, and that's what
Yeah.
we used to build the extension. But you know, and you know, all kinds of crazy stuff happened.
Right, right.
But I was determined. I sat and had
I mean,
lunch
just
one day
the-
with Ray Santilli, as
Yeah.
close as you are, and I looked him in the eye and I said, I will get to the bottom of this.
Right.
And he just smiled,
Yeah.
just like you have.
Yeah.
And it took me 14 years.
14
I didn't
years.
think it'd take that long.
Right. I mean, was you really angry about the fact that he told you a lie and that it had taken 14 years of your time to unravel this mystery?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And when I told him so as well,
Right.
in no uncertain terms.
Yeah.
And
Because really that's a diversion where you could have been researching something else, couldn't you, really?
well, yeah, I mean, I just expected it to all blow over pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But of course it didn't.
No.
And so every now and again I would dip into it.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely, we got a few little leads, and another lead here, and then at the end we found out the man who made it wasn't Santilli, it was a chap called Spiros Molaris.
Yes.
You know, and I found it all.
You see, what I find quite interesting about the name Spiros is that that's a Greek word which is used to refer to a basket or a vessel, but it's actually used within the classical traditions to refer to what we would describe as a flying saucer, because it's related to the word anaspout, which is to pull up, and so they would represent these angelic vessels as baskets, because how do you represent a vessel which is elevated? You represent it as a basket.
Well, Spiros is of Greek origin.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's a terrific chap. He's a magician and
Yeah.
all kinds of.
Was he involved in making the dummies, or was this?
He was the mastermind behind all of it.
Did he have to sort of commission out a sculptor to?
Yeah. Obviously, we'd been running around looking
Yeah.
for a special effects artist.
Yeah.
And of course, it wasn't. He was a sculptor whose work at the time overlapped.
Right.
And he was Spiros' best mate. He was called John Humphreys,
Okay.
and he's a fantastic sculptor.
Right.
You know, and that's why we didn't find him, because we're just looking in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Spiros was the brains behind it. He met Santilli by it's a long story, quite by chance.
Yeah.
And Santilli spun him the same story as he told me, and so Spiros says, "Well, I'll make you the film. I'll make it."
Right.
You know, to him it was a bit of a jape.
Yeah.
And the original plan was that they'd make this film,
Yeah.
show it,
Mm.
and then 6 months later, hold their hands up, say it was us, hoping to then get other assignments, because he was a filmmaker at the time as well.
Right. Okay.
He thought, you know, if we can fool people to such an extent,
Yeah.
look how good we are,
Yeah.
surely we can get
You'll
some
get some
work
work.
out of it.
Yeah.
You know, he never made any money out of it, not a penny.
Is that one of the reasons or his motivations for coming forward then? Because he felt badly done by. You know.
No, what it was, he just forgot about it and got on, got
Right.
on with the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And then the Ant and Dec movie came out, Alien Autopsy,
Right.
and they portray him in it as a Greek kebab owner,
Yeah. Yeah.
which when you meet Spiros is a bit of an insult. He's nothing like that at all.
Right. Okay.
And something happened, and I don't know what it was, something personal,
Mm.
and that was it. So he set about trying to find out what had gone on, and he was amazed when he looked online.
How accurate is the film in relation to what actually occurred?
It's no accuracy at all.
So it's just basically entertainment.
Yeah. The only accurate bit is that Santilli winged it, like he does in the movie,
Yeah.
and made a pile of cash.
Right. Okay. Did they both make a pile of cash?
Spiros didn't, but
No.
Santilli had a business partner, Gary Sheffield, and they made, for example,
Yeah.
when they sold it to Fox, they sold it for $250,000,
Okay.
plus a share of the video rights.
Right. And they sold it into many different territories. So.
Absolutely. So just give you an idea.
Right.
And Spiros was amazed, because he had no, well, still has no interest in this subject, and he looked online and thinking, my God,
Right.
you know. So he decided if finally found me.
Yeah.
I told him what had gone on,
Yeah.
and he couldn't believe it. And then he told me the whole story.
Mm.
We'd actually found the sculptor before that,
Right.
but he wasn't talking. But even when he did talk, he says, "Oh, it's Spiros you want to talk to." But he
Right.
wouldn't give us his surname,
Right.
because when Spiros popped up on my computer screen one day, I knew straight away
Yeah.
who it was, because it's not a common name.
No,
Certainly not in this
No.
neck of the woods anyway.
Right.
And he told us everything. And you know, he's writing his own book, but it's not his priority. You know, he's got a business to run.
Just did it help his business after the movie? I mean, did he find work?
No, because people don't know that he's connected.
Right.
You know, no idea. He met some of the cast, the guy that played him, and told him. But as far as the public's concerned, nobody knows it's him. Even though I've written about it, and it's in my book, which is a very small circulation.
Sintelli's business partner, are they cut from the same cloth? I mean, have they known one another for many years?
Yeah, they worked together a long time. Gary Sheffield's moved on now. I think he's working overseas. I've still kept in touch on occasion with Ray Santilli.
Right.
There's a little documentary coming out next week, I think it is, on Yesterday Channel.
Right.
It's nothing great. You know.
Yeah, so that really needs to be
the
made.
The Spiros story really needs to be made, because it's even funnier. Some of the things that I'll give you an example. They built a set in his sister's flat, because it was being renovated at the time anyway. So they bring the body in, they cut it up, they film it all. His girlfriend plays it back. You've made a mistake. One of the medical techniques they'd done, they got it totally wrong. If you broadcast that, they'll know. Okay, John the sculptor, I'll go and make another one tonight. I've got the casts. Film another one tomorrow. So off they went. Come back the next day, somebody had burgled the flat. And he said, can you imagine the guy's face when he walks upstairs and opens the door, and there's this thing still laid on the slab with all the giblets hanging out on its brain on. The only thing that was stolen was a reproduction gun they were going to use. You know. But he said, can you imagine the burglary? He thought, oh, we've been rumbled. And he thought, well, no, he can't admit to a burglary, you know what I mean? So there were all kinds of things like that.
That's very interesting. So, what did you do after this story?
Well, I put it in a book, just for the sake of it. Not to make money, but to document it. And I tried my damnedest to get the word out there. That this is the real story behind it. Because it was personal. There was still the idiot who called me his accomplice. And various other accusations that were levelled at me. And there was also the sceptics who immediately said, oh, it's a fake. Well, that's an easy option.
It is, but you've got to prove that, don't you? That's the difficulty.
And I was determined that I would prove this, whatever it may be. And I kept my mind open on what it may or may not be. And, one of the lectures I did, one of the arch skeptics at the time, of course, was Philip Glass, sadly no longer with us. But I said even the likes of him couldn't get to it. And at the end of the day, it was a UFO researcher, me, helped by others, I didn't just do it on my own, who got to the bottom of it. And that, for me, also shows that, it can be gullible at times, you can all be taken in, but we were resilient enough to get to the bottom of things.
I mean, are you still on talking terms with him? Obviously, you feel angry about what's occurred.
Oh, I mean, what's done is done. And he's admitted it, but he won't go on the record of admitting it. He'll still stick to his story.
So what were the consequences? He obviously made a lot of money, but were there other consequences? I mean, has he gone to prison or nothing?
No, because it's a civil matter.
Right. Okay. So
it would be one of the TV companies would have to sue him. But they would have to prove it damaged them in some way or they lost money, and then of course none of that happened. They made a lot of money. So that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
So there's a great story there, but it's not the story that people realise.
What's he doing with his time? I mean, is he just
Santilli? Same as always. He's still got his company going. He has.
But what is his company?
It's mainly music.
Right.
And he'll have back catalogues and he'll license music and buy music in and
sell the music.
And he's got a large collection of music memorabilia that he'll license to various places and that kind of thing.
Right.
And he's made a shed load of money.
You
know, and I think one of the reasons why he wouldn't admit that all of this had happened, it might damage his business. Well, I've got a very rare unpublished photograph of John Lennon. You were the guy that admitted to hoaxing that film.
Right.
Why should I believe you? This is,
Do you think he did see a film originally,
no,
which kickstarted?
Not at all. There was no film.
No.
was none at all.
So that was just a hook or a stop.
Yeah, I even know the guy where the idea started from.
Where did it start from then?
Well, they used to have like brainstorming sessions. Come up with daft ideas, and this chap is called Phil Jarman.
Yeah.
And he's got a book on Roswell, and he says, well, it'd be great if we had some Roswell footage. And it was just, that's how it started.
That's how it kick-started. Just
Phil wasn't directly involved, he just made that comment in passing.
Right.
That's when it all began. A simple thing like that.